Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping ourselves in for a serious piece of hardware. We're looking at the HP ZBook Fury 17G8. People usually obsess over thin and light laptops, but this one, it definitely plays by different rules. Our mission today is really for you, if you're an engineer, a creator dealing with heavy files, or any professional who just can't afford downtime. We want to figure out why this thing is called a full-fledged workstation disguised as a portable computer. And importantly, why looking at a renewed model right now might be a really smart move.
Yeah, context is everything here. The sources make it clear this isn't your standard laptop, not even a typical business one. This is built for, sustained, heavy professional use where things just have to work. And what's interesting about the renewed angle is that the core engineering, the cooling, the build quality, the components, it's all still top tier. You get that blend of power, flexibility, and serious durability. That big 17.3-inch size isn't just for show. It's needed to house everything.
Okay, let's unpack that, starting with just the look and feel. The reviews say it means business.
Yeah.
Definitely not subtle. Solid chassis, premium finish, often described as, well, built like a tank.
Exactly, like a tank. And that speaks volumes about durability. These professional machines often meet standards like MIL STD A10G. Think resistance to vibration, dust, temperature extremes. So if you're, say, an engineer on a site visit or anyone working outside a pristine office, that toughness is critical. It means a bump isn't going to kill your project.
Right, that makes sense. Peace of mind. But the trade-off for that tank-like build is obvious. The weight. It's around 3 kilos. That's hefty.
It is hefty, yeah. But that weight is almost entirely necessary for the thermal management. You simply can't put an 8-core high-performance CPU and a professional GPU into something super thin without it, throttling down immediately under load. That 3 kilogram allows for big heat pipes, proper fans, good airflow. It lets the components run at their peak sustainably, not just for a quick burst. You're paying for that continuous, reliable performance.
Okay, performance needs cooling space. Got it. What about the screen? It's a big 17.3-inch panel, but usually full HD. Now, for creators working with high-res video or textures, when they want 4K, why stick with FHD?
That's a really strategic choice, actually. It reflects who this is primarily for. Engineers, programmers, people doing long productivity sessions. 4K looks great, sure, but it uses a lot more GPU power just to run the display itself. Power that could be used for your CAD model or video timeline. And even more critically, 4K just destroys battery life.
Ah, okay.
So full HD hits that sweet spot. Clear enough for detailed work, but much easier on the battery and the GPU, letting you work longer unplugged. It's a practical decision.
Makes sense. Okay, let's dive into the core components then, because Fury suggests some serious power. Inside, we've got the Intel Core i7-11-1850H. For listeners maybe not deep into Intel's naming, what does that H-series 11th gen chip signify?
The H-series means high performance for mobile. It prioritizes core count and clock speed, especially under sustained load. This 11-1850H has 8 cores, 16 threads. It's designed for heavy computational tasks that run for a while. Think hours, not seconds. We're talking raw power here, not just efficiency cores. It'll maintain high clocks during long renders or complex simulations. That's crucial when deadlines are involved.
So to put that into perspective for, daily use, this means smoothly editing multiple 4K video streams, or handling massive data sets from scanners, compiling huge code projects without the whole system grinding to a halt.
Exactly, all of the above. And supporting that CPU is typically 64 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. Now, for most people, 16 GB is plenty, maybe 32 GB. But with these professional workloads, 64 GB is often where you start needing to be. Think photogrammetry with hundreds of huge images or massive CAD assemblies or running virtual machines alongside your main apps. 32 GB can start to feel tight surprisingly quickly. 64 GB gives you breathing room, lets you keep everything open without the system constantly swapping data to the slower SSD. It really future-proofs it too.
Right. Now for the graphics, this is where it gets really specific. The NVIDIA RTX A3000 with 6 GB of VRAM. You mentioned earlier, definitely not a gaming card, even though it says RTX. Why is that distinction so critical for professionals? Someone might see RTX and think, oh, great for games too.
Yes, this is probably the most important distinction for a workstation like this. The A3000 uses workstation architecture, but the crucial part is ISV certification. ISV means independent software vendor. So companies like Autodesk, Dassault Systems, Adobe, they specifically test and certify the A3000 and its drivers for their software. AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Premiere Pro, Blender, etc.
Okay.
And the result? Stability. Rock-solid stability. Gaming drivers. They're pushed out fast, optimized for the latest game, aiming for max frame rates. Sometimes they have bugs with pro software. Professional drivers, on the other hand, are all about reliability and accuracy for these certified applications. When you're running a simulation that takes 10 hours or a render that costs money per hour, you absolutely cannot have a driver crash.
Right. Makes total sense.
That guarantee of stability, that certification, is why you pay a premium for an A-series Quadro. Well, now RTX A-series card over a consumer GeForce card, even if some raw specs look similar on paper.
It's about reliability for the job, not just benchmark numbers. Got it. Okay, moving on from processing to data access. The storage is usually of a very fast 2 TB PCIe Gen 4.0 NVMe drive. Gen 4 is quick, we know that, but how does that speed actually impact a professional workflow?
It saves time, plain and simple, which means saving money or meeting deadlines. Yes, boot times are near instant, which is nice. But the real win is when you're loading massive project files like huge video clips, complex CAD models with lots of linked parts, giant simulation datasets. Waiting for data is just dead time for the CPU. Gen 4 speed minimizes that wait. Copying a 50 GB project folder takes dramatically less time. It keeps the whole system feeling snappy, even with enormous files.
And I imagine with these kinds of projects, 2 TB might not even be enough long-term.
Exactly. And that's another strength of the ZBook Fury line. They usually offer expansion options, often multiple M.2 slots. So if you're dealing with terabytes of GIS data or raw video footage, you need that internal flexibility to add more fast storage, rather than relying solely on slower external drives.
Right, flexibility. Okay, beyond the internals, connectivity is usually called superb on these ZBooks. What specific ports make this stand out as a professional machine?
It's the variety and sometimes the redundancy. You get the modern essentials like Thunderbolt ports, usually multiple for docking stations, fast storage, external displays, plenty of USB-A too. But crucially, it keeps the professional mainstays. A dedicated HDMI port for easy connection to projectors or older monitors, and really important in many places, a physical gigabit Ethernet port.
Even with Wi-Fi 6?
Yeah, absolutely. Many corporate networks, university labs, secure facilities, they require or prefer a wired connection for speed, stability, and security reasons. Wi-Fi 6 is great, and it's here, but the Ethernet port is non-negotiable for many professional environments.
And what about those specialized readers? SD card reader creators love that, but also a smart card reader. Why is that smart card reader so important for certain industries?
The smart card reader is essential for access control in high-security sectors. Think defense, government contractors, finance, some R&D labs. In these places, you often need a physical ID card, the smart card, to authenticate onto the network, access secure data, or even enter certain parts of a building. Without that reader built in, the laptop simply can't be used in those environments. So its inclusion signals this machine is ready for serious enterprise deployment, often alongside the fingerprint reader for another layer of security.
Okay, let's shift to actually using the machine day to day. Ergonomics are vital if you're spending 8–10 hours working on it. What about the keyboard and trackpad?
The sources consistently praise the keyboard. It's usually UK backlit layout on the models we're discussing. We're not talking about a shallow, clicky Ultrabook keyboard here. The ZBook keyboard typically offers deep, satisfying key travel and good tactile feedback. It makes long typing sessions, coding, writing reports much more comfortable. Plus, crucially for many engineers and finance folks, it includes a full numeric keypad well integrated into the layout. That's a must-have for data entry. It puts it in the same league as other keyboard legends like, say, the ThinkPad P series.
And the trackpad? Or is it all about the point stick?
The trackpad is generally large, smooth, responsive, does the job very well. But yeah, many longtime workstation users love the point stick, that little nub between the G, H, and B keys. It lets you move the cursor without taking your hands off the home row keys. It sounds minor, but for really intensive keyboard work, it can be a genuine efficiency booster. It's another sign this is built for pure productivity.
All right, the big question for anything mobile, battery life. We have this powerful Core i7, the professional A3000 GPU, and the sources suggest around 6 to 8 hours under moderate use. Now, I have to ask, is 6 hours really mobile enough these days? That doesn't sound like a lot compared to thinner laptops.
That's a totally fair point to raise. But again, context is key. 6 hours would be poor for an Ultrabook running on integrated graphics. But getting 6, 7, maybe 8 hours out of this hardware combination of the power-hungry H-series CPU and that dedicated professional GPU is actually pretty impressive. It shows HP's power management is doing a good job switching between the integrated and dedicated graphics when needed. No, You're not going to render 3D models for 8 hours straight on battery. Heavy tasks will drain it much faster, obviously. But it's enough to get you through meetings, move between locations, work on a train for a decent stretch, without being tethered to the wall constantly. For this class of machine, it's very respectable.
Okay, respectable for its class. And finally, the OS is Windows 11 Pro. That Pro matters, right?
Vitally important, yes. Windows 11 Pro includes essential features for business and enterprise use. Better security options, remote management tools, BitLocker encryption, things that IT departments need for deployment and management within a company network. It integrates nicely with the hardware security features like the Fingerprint and Smartcard readers. It's ready for corporate life right out of the box.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Bringing it all together, what's the final verdict on this renewed HP ZBook Fury 17G8?
I think the final verdict is clear. This ZBook Fury 17G8 is a true mobile workstation. It deliberately sacrifices ultimate portability, thinness, and lightness to deliver on what professionals absolutely need. Uncompromising performance, especially sustained performance, serious durability bordering on rugged, and robust security features tailored for enterprise. It's built for demanding work where you just can't afford failure.
Exactly. And the value proposition, particularly for the renewed models, seems really strong based on the sources. You're getting access to incredibly powerful specialized hardware that's 64 GB RAM, the certified A3000 GPU, the excellent cooling, which cost a huge amount when brand new. This renewed option delivers that top-tier speed and reliability for critical workflows at a much more accessible price point. Makes it a very smart investment. Now, before we go, here's something to think about, a final thought for you. We've talked about how this machine packs immense local power, secure storage, guaranteed stability, all things you might need if you're disconnected or in a secure environment. But we live in an age of cloud computing. AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, they offer massive scalable compute power remotely for things like rendering and simulation. So the question is, how much longer will engineers or creators truly need this level of heavy, local, secured compute power in a 3-kilogram laptop? Is the era of the powerhouse mobile workstation slowly fading as the cloud gets more capable and accessible? Or is that need for local processing, especially in regulated fields or areas with poor connectivity, absolutely here to stay? What stands out to you about where this kind of hardware fits in the future?
Yeah. Local hardware sovereignty versus the convenience and scalability of the cloud. Definitely something to mull over when you're consider your next major hardware purchase.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the very capable, very serious HP ZBook Fury 17G8.
Hope this insight helps. We'll catch you on the next one.